Alright guys, and welcome back, and we are finally back with another episode of Subdivisions of Illinois. Now you probably realized I have changed the name. It was called Subdivisions of Southern Illinois, but now I have changed it to Subdivisions of Illinois because some of the lines that I'm wanting to do in Illinois are not actually in Southern Illinois. I was considering doing an episode of lines like the CN Peoria sub or the NS Lafayette district, but those are not in Southern Illinois. Those are in Central Illinois. So I may even do some subdivisions further on north, but for now I'm just sticking with the Southern Illinois subdivisions, and then I might make my way up to the Central and then to the Northern. So I've changed the episode name to Subdivisions of Illinois now. And who knows, maybe I'll even do some other states, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. But the last time I had made a video on this series, August 11th, yeah, it's been a while. I have not made one in 2022 yet. I didn't even make one for the rest of 2021 after that. I'm just slacking, I guess. Anyways, let's get started. And today, we're going to be talking about a subdivision that no longer exists. This is going to be a little bit of a different episode. Today, we're talking about the Baltimore and Ohio Springfield subdivision. Alrighty, so let's start with a map here of the old B&O Springfield subdivision. This yellow line right here is the B&O Springfield subdivision where we'll go. It would start all the way far, far up in northern Illinois. It would head far, far south. It went from Beardstown, Illinois, all the way to Shawnee Town, Illinois. And it would cross over with some other big railroads. For example, in Beardstown, the B&O encountered the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad. Later on, Burlington Northern. And then up in Pana, it would cross the Chicago and Eastern Illinois. While in Edgewood, it would cross over the Illinois Central. In Fairfield, the Southern. Enfield, the Louisville and Nashville, and so on. But anyways, today we are going to analyze the B&O Springfield subdivision, because this line is not talked about very often, and I'm going to go ahead and explain it for you guys. Alright, so there is not much information about the B&O. Now, there is not much information on the B&O. I don't even know how many trains a day they got. However, though, the B&O line did not seem very busy at all. It was probably busier in the 70s and 60s, but however, though, in the 80s, the line was starting to rot away. And for B&O train symbols, here's an example. There are two CSX trains that run on the Ohio sub called Q326 and Q327. In the days of the C&O, those trains were called 942 and 937. There's another set of trains on the CSX called Q334 and Q335. And on the B&O days, that would be called TL82 and GR83. B&O train symbols were unique. And they are kind of similar to NS and CN. They're similar to NS because they use numbers, and they're similar to CN because they use some letters and numbers. So, what trains ran on the B&O? Well, they did have passenger trains a very, very long time ago. But that was, I'm thinking, maybe in the 50s and back. Then later on, it just mainly became a freight line. I'm not sure on the exact amount of trains a day that ran on the B&O. These are photos of the Springfield local in Rochester, Illinois. The line was hardly ever busy in the 1980s because the tracks were starting to rot away and they were getting into bad shape, as you can tell in these photos. And weeds were growing around the tracks, and trains over there could only top 10 miles an hour. The Baltimore and Ohio was the only railroad to ever own this line right here. Well, that was until 1982. These three photos of the B&O logo in Springfield, Illinois, that was the last year of the B&O operating on the line. Because in 1982, the Prairie Trunk Railroad, a short line, had taken over operations on the B&O. Instead of the line running from Beardstown, Illinois to Shawnee Town, the line only ran from Flora to Shawnee Town now. But the Prairie Trunk Railroad did not last long at all, because in 1985 there were too many miles on the line and not enough traffic, which doomed the Prairie Railroad, and so the line was abandoned in 1985. So, are there any remains of the old B&O line? You're probably wondering this. Well, the line was closed down in 1985, as I said, and it's been almost 40 years. Almost all of it is gone, but there is some remains of it, and we will go ahead and explore that right now. Alright, so we are in Enfield, Illinois, back on Google Earth once again, and this line right here where the cursor is highlighted at is the remains of the B&O. Now, well, this isn't B&O territory yet. This is actually the EVWR, the Evansville and Western. But right here, as you can see, the track just completely ends. This is the B&O, and this is the EVWR right here. The B&O ran next to the EVWR for a while, all the way down to El Dorado. And right here, as you can see, so this is the EVWR, and this track up here is the old B&O line. And this is Enfield, Illinois, and it would head up north, and there's the end of it right here, and it just becomes trees. And you can follow it all the way up north to Edgewood, or around Altamont, I'd say. But this here is remains of the old B&O. This part of the B&O, though, is actually still in service. There is one piece of the B&O that is left in service, and it's just from here all the way about to here where this locomotive is sitting. And if you're wondering what this locomotive is, this is CGRX 9209, a former New York Central GP7 high hood. Because this territory right here, this grain plant in Enfield, this is owned by CGRX right here. This is all CGRX territory. And they will shunt these grain cars around and stuff, but this is the only part of the B&O that is left in service today. Alright, and this is the former B&O right-of-way. And as you can see, there are just two random boxcars sitting there. They look like they're sitting all by themselves, but there is a little railroad track through there. And these cars should still be here today because there's no way of them getting out. And this photo right here was taken in March of 2020. So if we go right here, we're in Shawnee Town, Illinois now. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at those boxcars on the Google Earth. So, here they are. This is all that is left of the old B&O. And an old red and blue boxcar just sitting there all by themselves. Just, there's no way of them getting out. This is pretty much all that is left of the old B&O in Shawnee Town, Illinois. So now, let's go ahead and check out some other remains of the B&O. Alright, so now we're in Jeffersonville, Illinois. This, right here where the cursor is the old B&O, and it would cross over this main highway and would run right into those trees. Right now we're pretty much standing right on where the old B&O ran. Right through here. This is in Jeffersonville, Illinois, and if we continue to head north, we're going to go ahead and follow the B&O for just a little bit here. But right here where this line is, this is the good old B&O. And some of the depots and railroad bridges of the B&O still even remain. Like right here. And the B&O went right next to this highway. But this is just a little piece of what we are following now. Let's go see if we can find Edgewood on here. There's Flora. The B&O ran through Flora. It ran through Louisville right here. And there's Edgewood right there. And this is the old Illinois Central. And then I think this is the B&O right here. I believe this is the B&O, and it crossed the Illinois Central main line of Mid-America right here. And there is an old railroad signal right out here. I don't know if you can see it in here, but let's see if Street View by any chance. Let's see if Street View can show it for us. This is the good old B&O. I don't see it out here. And then there's the other side of the B&O right there. Alright, and now for our last remains of the B&O. Well, we'll be looking at a railroad bridge right outside of here after this, but we are in El Dorado, Illinois now. Right where the B&O ran. This track right here is the B&O. If you zoom in closely, it is now a bike path. And this other track right here, this other bike path, was also a railroad track. If you're wondering what this track is the old New York Central Big Four Egyptian line, which was later on Southern and then Penn Central, I believe. And I think Conrail also had some kind of relation to this line. But this is the old Southern, if you're wondering, and this is the old B&O right here through El Dorado. Does El Dorado get any other tracks? Well, yes, it does actually. This is the C in El Dorado sub. Right about here. This is the El Dorado sub. All the way through here, and then it just ends right there. And I believe this also used to be another railroad track. Actually, it might not have been. I could be wrong about that. Alright, and this was a railroad diamond at one time too. Let's see if we can take a look at it. Let's see if we can take a look at a street view of the old B&O. Yep, right here. This was the old B&O. A lot of bike paths that you see were probably old railroad tracks at one point. If you ever do see a bike path, look up the history of it, and who knows, it could have been a railroad a long time ago. I don't think all bike paths were railroad tracks, but most of them seem to be. Yep, this is it. And now, let's see. There are also some railroad bridges of the B&O remaining. We're going to go right outside of Fairfield and see if we can find the old B&O. Where is it? Oh, we already found it. It's right here. This is the B&O. It goes straight through here, and it would cross with the Southern, or the NS, right about right around here, I'd say, across the NS. But if we go outside of Fairfield and head south, that's where we'll see the old railroad bridge of the B&O. This is the B&O right here as we follow it, and we're going to see if we can find one of their old railroad bridges real quick. Oh, there it is. We already found one. Right there. The track itself is not there anymore, but the bridge still remains. Yep, there we are. And this is a railroad bridge of the B&O right outside of Fairfield. in Shoals, Illinois. But this is one of the railroad bridges standing. And looks like part of a track right there. And there's another railroad bridge right there. And basically it would just keep on headed south. And yeah, that's about it. Alright guys, well that is about it for today's episode of Subdivisions of Illinois. I hope you enjoyed. And if you want to find some more pictures of the old B&O, go to Railroad Picture Archives and it will come in clutch for you. You will be able to find them and go on Google Earth. Explore some more remains of the B&O. Just start where I was at and then just keep on going and see if you can find anything else interesting. And let me know in the comments section if you know anything else about the B&O or if there's anything that I forgot. Anyways, that is it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. And make sure to like and subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss an upload.